Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of graph transformations. This is standard A.3E in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 35 of the 2018 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have two different graphs. We've got g and f. And which function is best represented by the graph of g? Okay, so this g here, that's this one that's a little bit shallower in regards to the slope than the f. Now here's what I notice about both. Okay, both f and g, they are direct variation. They go through the origin. Right, so if we wanted to plot a few points here, right, we can say instead of x and y, we're going to f of x, but it's going to be the same thing. But you notice it's 0 and 0, right? And then it looks like on this f, it's going to be 1, 1, it's going to be 2, 2, it's going to be 3, 3. Right, so on and so forth. So look at those points. So if I want to find my slope, that's pretty easy. It's 1. So this equation right here is f of x equals x. And that's that direct variation, right? Is that y equals kx. But really, since my slope is 1, you don't need to write y equals 1x or f of x equals 1x. You can just assume it's a 1. So that's why it looks just like that. Now, what did we do to that graph of f of x to get to g of x? Because look how they're defining g of x in all of these 4 answer selections. They're not defining it necessarily by x, but they're defining it by f of x. Okay, so these are serving as our range right here. And it's this f of x that's actually serving as the domain. So that's what we call a graph transformation. They're going to give you the original graph, which is the f of x. Then they're going to do something to it. They're going to shift it up, shift it down, make it shallower, make it steeper. So let's see what happens to this g. Well, you notice that it shifts down a little bit. So it becomes a less steep slope. Now, how do we know that? Well, and I'm just going to label these x and y so we don't get these confused with g of x and f of x and all that business. But really, that's what this is. G of x and f of x. So it's direct variation. So it goes through the origin there, so it's proportional. But look, my next point right there is going to be an x of 3 and a y of 1. And then the next point I can find is going to be an x of 6 and a y of 2. And then we're off the grid, right? So if we wanted to find our slope, well, we can easily do that. We could visually see it, but remember, it's going to be the change in y over the change in x. So let's just make this x2, x1, y2, y1. So it's going to be 2 minus 1, 6 minus 3. So that's 1/3. And that makes sense. It is a shallower slope when the is less than 1. So right now it's a fraction. It's 1/3. If you were to make the slope like this right here, you see this d right here, that would have made the slope steeper. And it would have been something like this, closer to vertical. This would have been what the d looks like. So it's not that. So right now b is looking good. What's wrong with a and c? Well, look at a and c doesn't change the slope at all. All it's doing is giving it a y-intercept. So a would look like this. It would be parallel to f right there, but it would be shifted down, and then c would be shifted down as well, but it would just be down 2 rather than that down 4. So those two are incorrect. So my answer here is B.